Alright, what we're gonna do is go back. Way back. Well, kinda. We'll start with Buxom and Maud. Together they had 9 children. 6 girls, followed by 3 boys. They named their youngest daughter Maggie. She married Fred. They had 2 sons and 1 daughter. I am the oldest of them. I'm Kendra.
The middle boy, they named Herbert. Well, his name is Aubrey, but we'll get into that later. He married Deborah, and they had 3 girls. I am the oldest of them. I'm Tawana.
The third oldest was a girl they named Sadie. She married a man named Roosevelt, and they would have 3 kids together, the oldest of which was Darryl. He met and married Antoinette, and they too would have 3 kids together. And with their oldest, they gave Buxom and Maud their very first great-grandchild. That was me, Martine.
The oldest of them all, and bossy second mama to many, was a girl named Blossom. She married Jean, and the 2 of them had 7 boys and 2 girls between them. The tallest of them was Jerome. He married Juanita and had 2 sons. The oldest of them was me, Junie. So, y'all catch all that? Anyway.
Hey, cousin!
What's going on? What's going on? And welcome back to another episode of Hey Cousin Season 2. Alright, as we're coming around to the close of our season, we have brought back yet another influential and amazing baby cousin of mine to the mix. This is Mr. Randall. And Randall, we enjoyed you so much the last time you were out. We knew that you had to be a part of this conversation for today. Today is going to be centered around... Yeah, listen, I mean, we still got to get Jeneline back too. You know what I'm saying? But we had a beautiful time talking about basically, family last time. And we're going to talk a little bit more about family this time with a little more nuance. We're talking about daddy duties today. So all the males on this podcast today and the males that you see on the screen are all fathers, right? And everybody on the screen has been raised by fathers. So we're going to have a really, really in-depth conversation about fathers, fatherhood, being raised by fathers, and just fathers in black families, more specifically our family. So Cousin Martine got a letter that is going to direct a little bit of the beginning of the conversation, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Yes. First and foremost, welcome, Randall. And you just showed everybody them slippers. You gotta show them.
Oh yeah, my little. I got Patrick on one foot.
Yes,
and I got SpongeBob on the other
foot.
Let's go.
Like that.
Yeah, I'm cozy where I'm at.
That's big right there.
I gotta be cozy.
This letter this week says, "Dear Hey Cousins, I enjoy your show so much and would like some help and some advice on some things. I am a 45-year-old male who most recently received full custody of my 3 kids. 2 girls, ages 11 and 8, and 1 boy, age 5. My ex and I broke up over a year ago, and due to her not being stable, I was granted full custody of all of my kids. Being a full-time dad and professional has been so hard, but I wouldn't trade things for the world. My questions to you are, how do I find a healthy balance in my professional and parental and social life? Although my family is near, they don't help with my kids, and I'm starting to worry that my 2 daughters may need more maternal nurturing and more females in their life. Do you have any suggestions on how to obtain this? These questions are all for the single dads that don't get much attention. Thank you." Deep, really deep. So I'll let y'all start that off.
I'll start it off because I've kind of with one of the questions, one of the key points was about finding that balance as it pertains to you being a professional and you being a father. And it's kind of been a hurdle that I've been dealing with myself within this past year. My son now is 13 months, and it's a lot. Like, and I mean, granted, our extended cousin is no longer in his relationship. It's a lot of hats that you have to wear. You got to be the head of the household. You got to be the spouse. You got to be the dad. You got to be the person that brings home the bacon and figures out the momentum and the thought process for your family traditionally, right? So we're raised thinking this one way, and then now we're in it, and it's like, yo, like, I also realize how I really want to be there for my kid and be present in my kid's life, which is a little bit different from what the norm way back when used to be. So for me, one of the things that I've figured out and have adopted for myself really is being able to truly compartmentalize that time, right? What you don't want to do is pour yourself completely into work all the time. You also can't pour yourself completely into being, a daddy daycare all the time either. Like, you really have to find that balance between the two. And for me, because I'm so analytically brained a lot of the times, my sun sign is a Pisces, but my moon sign is a Capricorn. So when it comes to like keeping the shit together, I'm gonna keep it together. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's like, all right, if I dedicate myself, a week has 7 days. If I'm dedicating myself the 4 days of the week or the 5 days of the week to going hard at work during a certain block of time, if I'm outside of that block of time and there isn't a really stringent deadline that I've committed to that I will then dishonor my word by not being available for, I need to be completely available for my family. Like, it can't be, like, oh, I'm gonna be with my kids for like 2 hours, but I'm gonna be on my phone the whole time. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you have to find those times in your schedule, and it's there, it's available. It might not be convenient, you might miss out on some sleep, but you really do have to find those times to be unapologetically there for your loved one in that time. So when it comes to your daughters and your son, if you're committing to, all right, I'm off work at 5, let me try to catch up on the work that I missed till 7, but from 7 to 9, I'm there for my kids, and they don't have to look like, oh, daddy, pay attention to me right now. Like, you spend that time actually catching up and doing what you got to do to be there for them. And, it might not be a lot of time. You might feel guilty throughout some of that time. Like, damn, am I giving enough time? You know what I'm saying? But the fact that and you've committed to that block of time that is their time and their time only, I promise you, it might not feel good all the time, but it's something that they will remember, and you will create lasting memories with your kids and making those moments exciting for them so that they can have those memories. As far as the kind of finding the female influence, I'll get into that later. I'll let some of y'all talk through, even if y'all want to tag along on this first part.
I want to touch on the part of being there for my sons when I'm home, opposed to being at work. So I work nights. I basically only see my kids on the weekends. I take Aiden to school 7 in the morning. When I come home at 11:30 at night, he's asleep and Bubs is asleep. And I only get 2 days a week with him, basically. And I found myself realizing I'm a lot like my father. Your Uncle Gary, your cousin Gary. I mean, growing up, my dad would work all week. And then during the weekends, he'd be on his TV on the couch. And it felt like, he wasn't there as far as we'd be all in the house, all in the same household, but we're doing our own thing in different rooms. And I had to caught myself realizing this recently that, yeah, I'm home on the weekends, and if my kids aren't, with their grandmother, they're at our house, but they're in their own room doing their own thing. I got a 7-year-old, or soon to be 7-year-old, and a soon to be 2-year-old, and they spend more time with each other than they do with us. And it hurts me to realize that, because I know that's not what I liked when I grew up. That's not how I really liked being raised. But I got a new position at my job, and I'm going to day shift, so I'll be home at 3. I got my weeks back with my kids, so I realized, what, I got a chance to make up for this. And I plan to make amends with it, and being with them, doing their homework, playing with them. Because when I get home, if Buzz is awake, I open that door at 11:30 at night, and if he's awake, he's gonna run to the door, and he is excited, and he will not go to bed till I go to bed, because he just wants to play and be with me, and I love it. Sometimes it's like, boy, you should be sleeping. I don't know why you gotta get up at 4 in the morning. But I mean, I really do enjoy being with my kids. And sometimes you're right. Sometimes you think you're with your children, but no, you're on your phone, or you're watching TV, or they're just in the room with you, but you're not actually interacting with them. And I think that's something that that we as young fathers, new fathers, or even an older male who's now becoming a full-time father, like our cousin, has to realize that it's not just being with them, it's actually being with them, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. I want to kind of chime in behind you guys. For me, it's a little bit different in my home because the father is absent for my boys. He doesn't live in the house with us. It's just me and the boys. So I realized that there are certain things that I can't teach a man. However, there are some things that I can instill in them when it comes to being a good person, operating in integrity, walking like, more on right and wrong side, but all that scamming, we ain't gonna talk about the scamming. But, just trying to being a mom, I figured the same thing. Like, even though I work from home, if I'm working, I can't pay attention to them. I can't, especially if I'm in a meeting, in a training or something like that. So it's not the same thing, like you guys said. So I had to create boundaries around my work-life balance. And what I did was initially when I would cook food and stuff, because that's one thing I pride myself on. I got to cook for my boys. So they can get a home cooked meal. Y'all not eating that trash in the street every single day. Y'all can have it sometimes, but not every day. You get a home cooked meal with fruits and vegetables. And they used to get their food and go upstairs to eat in their room. I said, we cut that out. When in my home, I incorporated or adopted my mama. One thing my Deborah Gibbs, my daddy could be working up a storm, but when 6, 7 o'clock come, because he worked at a regular job and he also worked his own business when he came home. So he always had 2 jobs, with us growing up. And he would go in his shop and be in his shop till 12, 1 o'clock, and we wouldn't see him. So the way we got our time in with our dad was at dinner. It was dinner. And then she tried to do the prayer. The prayer weeded out, but we had to do prayer at 6 o'clock.
Oh God, not the planned prayers.
We had to do prayer at 6 o'clock. And then after prayer, she would call my daddy in. Sometimes he would come in, or he'd be like, I'm busy. I ain't got time for that, but I can come for dinner. But we ate dinner together every night. That's when he found out what was going on with us. Who liked who? What happened at school? That's when we would find out about things going on on the job. So I took that and I incorporated that into my practices with my boys. Y'all not going upstairs to eat no food. We sitting down. We eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If they're home with me all 3 of those times, now lunch, I might let them slide. But breakfast, we're sitting down on Saturday and Sunday mornings and we're eating breakfast together. We're talking, we're communing, we're communicating. I'm teaching y'all teaching me, I put that in place. The last thing I want to say before I let somebody else talk is you have to put extended cousin, you have to put practices in place that's going to help you with your work-life balance. That's the first thing. So if you got to reach back to things that happened in your childhood that were good habits, kind of incorporate it into, your habits now. Now, a girl, let me tell you about me. I'm real particular about certain types of foreign people. And I knew Martine was going to do that. We're not going to talk about it. That's season 3. That's season 3. But I'm really particular about girls that were not raised by their mothers. They are a different breed. And I don't really rock with them, period, because they just have different characteristics than me. It's like when a girl or a female isn't raised by her mom, I can immediately tell based on some of her actions. And I've had friends in my lifetime, and this is based on my experience, not anybody else's, based on my experiences with certain foreign people and certain girls that weren't raised by their moms. They just be rotten apples. That we just don't connect. We can't even disagree to agree. So I think it's very, very, very important that they get some type of woman influence for your girls. It's very important. Get a woman influence. I don't know if that's someone at the school, as far as a counselor, or if it's, eventually you moving on and dating and getting into a relationship and finding a woman that doesn't mind extending that love to your daughters that she should have. I know that'll eventually come, but I agree with your daughter's actually having a female influence, because there are certain things that you as a man won't be able to teach them as daughters. That's my 2 cents.
Okay, well, so my situation is a little different. So for the most of my son's life, I got divorced like when he was 1. So the custody situation when he was 1 was I had him basically every other day, so 50% of the time. And just like everyone else is saying, like, our dad worked a lot. So my dad had a full-time job and he had a truck, so in the night times he would kind of travel too. So I learned even back then, it was more about quality of time versus quantity. Because as a man, you have to feed them. You got to feed them, and you know, this ain't dropping off checks usually for men. So when I do have time with my son now, it's mostly FaceTime and things of that nature when I visit Atlanta. But it's undivided attention. He gets my undivided attention. Even when I was in Atlanta and he was with me, people I was dating, people I was hanging out with, they knew on these days, don't even holler at me. Because I wanted to give him as much of my attention as possible. But also, we know that our kids actually learn from my actions, especially as us with our boys. Although I would keep him to myself most of the times, I still want him to see me interact with other guys and stuff too. So you have to have a balance at a certain age. If they're younger, that's one thing, but as they get a little older, you want to have them see you interact with males and females, actually. It's like you said, Tawana, I think it's important that both parents influence the child, because us as individual beings, we have masculine and feminine energy. You know, men have more masculine versus feminine, but you know, both are important. Like I said, one of the biggest things growing up I can remember is how proud I was of my dad. It's like you said, at 5 or 6 o'clock, you could hear that red and white Ford truck pulling up, and everybody would be running to the front of the house. You know what I'm saying?
I remember that truck.
And that's one of the things that really spurred me to want to be a dad, to tell you the truth. I wasn't, when it comes to relationships and all that stuff, I could take it or leave it, but the dad being like a example to my child and my family was one of the things that really stood out to me. So for our cousin, our extended cousin in this situation, you don't want to, first off, you don't be so hard on yourself, because there's no instruction manuals that comes with this whole parent thing from men or women. But you want to, at the end of the day, you want to know what you want to instill in your children and always kind of walk in that light when you do have the chance to, spend time with them.
Okay, I'm gonna talk, but you know, Tawana, I got a lot to say about this whole foreign thing.
Listen,
because
they're about to cancel Tawana ass.
ASAP. Okay. Okay, because I represent all day Jamaican, and I don't get it. I don't understand.
I didn't say anything about Jamaican.
Foreign is foreign, honey. Foreign is foreign.
Foreigners doesn't mean your ethnicity or your culture. And let me tell you something. I've had to eat crow a lot of times. I mean, just because
you gonna have to eat something on this one. So you go back on mute, honey. Let me talk. So that's gonna be season 3. So I'm gonna leave it there, because right now we're talking about daddies, right? So of course, you know, I have a son, and my father played such a big role in all of our lives. Like, my father worked his butt off as well, of course. Even weekends he would work. But I must say, he seemed to balance things so easy. As a kid, I can never say he wasn't present, because he always was. He would make sure we go and see our other family members. He would make sure we go out. He would make sure, you know, we didn't want for anything. Of course, we never needed for anything. So I must say, he made it seem so easy. Me being a parent now, of course, I know he was juggling a lot of things at one time and doing some magic tricks kind of thing. But he did make it seem very easy. Me being a single mom for quite some time, that balance came with time an experience. It really did. I had a demanding career, and I also had a career where I was on call. So when you're home, you're still at work. So in that aspect, with the individual who wrote in, it also depends on your career. When you have that career where it kind of doesn't really just shut off at 5 o'clock, that is really something that you have to look into, because I recall being on a call, having someone in crisis, and having my son at a younger age pulling on my leg because he needed something or wanting something, right? So you have to make this decision of, okay, what comes first, and what's best. You know what's best for you. And for me, my son always came first. I have to tell you, my son, look, I will put you on hold. I don't care if you're another doctor, whoever hold on. Even we know majority of the times he's like 2 or 3, he ain't saying nothing but the cookie dropped or the cookie fell. It don't matter. You got to hold on, because this is an emergency.
Meltdown.
This is like, look, this stuff is
my
real.
child life is on the line over this damn cookie.
Fell on the floor. I got to stop.
It could get real quick.
DSM and this crisis because the cookie fell on the floor. So finding that healthy balance is very important. As I got older too, speaking of the devil. No, it's not there. I'm in a meeting, so you couldn't have to wait. And you see what I'm saying? Exactly what I said. And he wants
perfect example. Perfect example.
Perfect example, right? Perfect example. So after that, I just knew he needed way more of my time. I am fortunate enough that he has a great relationship with my partner currently. So that is a plus. That is very big for me. But also I had to look at moving into more of a administrative role prior to meeting my partner, because I felt like I just can't. I need to be able to focus on him, because that's what I wanted for him. So you have to decide what's best for you and what's best for your family. As far as, of course, me being a female, him being a male, he gets a lot of his role model and male interaction and contact with his pop, with his male cousins, which are major factors in his life. There are things that, let me tell you, I wasn't ready. And being lesbian, I really didn't know. I was like, what's going on? I don't know certain things. So calling my father and him explaining certain things, and he makes everything funny and hilarious. I'm like, oh, okay, this is normal. Okay, that's all I needed to know. Thank you. We can move on. But having that male experience, you definitely need. For your 2 girls, you are going to have to find someone who you can trust with them in order to model and have these open talks. And I remember there were certain things that I wouldn't tell my dad, but I'll tell my mom. As I got older, I was like, why? Why did I not feel it's the gender thing that's instilled in us. You know what I'm saying? It's the way that we learn that, no, he wouldn't understand this. She would understand this better. But, just finding that healthy balance. As far as socializing, I really still don't feel like I have a grasp on that. I really don't, because I know I focus on just being present when I'm around him. But as far as socializing, when you got a kid, you got to find childcare, you got to find all this stuff. I remember just jumping up and going. Like, it's a lot. It's really a lot. And you don't realize it until you're in it. So I think that's something that, I don't know. I don't have great experience with that part. But as far as the parenting piece, I feel like you have to do what's best for you and your kids. And having that healthy maternal role model is very important for the girls.
Agree. I think, what I was holding back on before and wanted to, drop a little later in the conversation as it opened up a bit, was that regardless of whether or not you are a single parent, there's a great importance of having a village when you're raising kids. We've talked about this in a previous episode. I think it was this season too. And it's like some of the things that you offer to your child someone else offers something completely different that you don't have access to. And I think specifically in this situation, you find yourself in a place where you actually need this more so than anything else. Like you might, I mean, granted your family might be a little further away, but you might have to carve in like once a quarter, like, oh, we're gonna go visit your auntie such and such from whatever walk of life. If you have a close female friend, maybe somebody that you dated in the past that y'all are just chill now, you know what I'm saying, like they moved on, you moved on, whatever, but you guys have a bond. Introduce that person to your girls. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe they have qualities, especially if you guys have had similar walks of life, they have qualities and perspectives that are nuanced and slightly different from your own, but they're not going to tell your kid to go do crack in the corner. You know what I'm saying? So like as it pertains to like being able to have those slight introductions and those things that your kid can build their own relationship with someone else, it's kind of something that's going to take the load off of your shoulders, and I think it's going to be all the better for us. So like again, it's all centered around vulnerability though, because you got to be vulnerable enough to reach out to that female friend and be like, hey sis, like I'm struggling right here, I don't know how I'm gonna handle this, that, the other. And you have to be able to stand confidently in that as a man and be like, yo, this is a place that is a weak point for me, and I need to rest and rely on you to help get me past this. You know what I'm saying? Same situation as it pertains to your son. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to make sure that you are also prioritizing him because he's the younger. Like your two girls are a little older and they might accept some of what you got to say, they might not, you know what I'm saying? But your son is, like Martine was saying, watching everything that you do, and they're going to, like, he's going to want to be invested in your life. He's not really going to understand life work balance. He's just going to be like, yo, I want my dad, you know what I'm saying? So I think the vulnerability in being uncomfortable with that and being able to share that with others will help you, because where you are weak, someone can help lift you up and make you strong, so where you can be the strongest dad and the strongest parent that you possibly can for all of your kids. And the last piece, granted, I do understand that you have full custody of your children, and I understand that the mom struggled with some things to get you to that point, but I do also think that it's important to at least extend some type of relationship with their mother. You know what I'm saying? Like if she's open to it whatsoever, even if it's as fly by night and as, you know, crazy as some of these relationships can get with parents that are not necessarily emotionally or physically available to their kids, at least give them that option. And I guarantee you, as time goes on, your kid will understand, like, yo, like mom was going through some stuff, but dad held me down. Dad never, you know, tried to curtail me from getting to know her, because that breeds a resentment that isn't even necessary. Because if your kid knew how your, you know, ex-wife was showing up, your kid would make that decision all by themselves. It's not even a decision that you got to make. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just be there and be there for them if they need to cry on your shoulder because mom didn't show up in the way that they needed to. So I think vulnerability with others, vulnerability with your kids is important too. Also, make sure that your kids know that they can come to you and you might not have all the answers. This is a really big point that I feel like a lot of parents in the past didn't really come up with or didn't really have access to. Like, they wouldn't ever show weakness in front of you. They'd be like, I know everything. Like, so you better, you know, this is my way or the highway. It's like, no, let your kid know you could come to me and I don't know everything, but I can try to help you get there. And it will really expound the amount of trust that they have for you. And that relationship will be golden. Like, you'll be like the best dad in the world to them.
I was just about to chime in and say that is so important. I feel like as parents, we feel like we need to know everything. We do not.
No.
We don't. And let me tell you, are you smarter than a fifth grade? All that stuff is real, because there are certain things that my son asked me and I'd be like, wait, what? Like, well, let's Google it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Good old Google.
It's like, I don't know this stuff, and it's okay to say that you don't know. And let me tell you something. I remember saying I don't know one time, and my son was like, well, aren't you a doctor?
So
I said, well, he told me about myself. But it is okay to not know something. It is okay. And you also brought up a real great thing about resentment. Don't fall into the trap of having your oldest play mom. That's a lot on someone. That is really, really a lot, and it causes resentment. I myself, I remember having to do a lot for my younger siblings. And that for me was like, why do I have to do, like, why? Come on. Like, these are my kids. These ain't this is that, da, da, da. And it's like, as I get older, I understand. But when you're younger, you don't get it. You don't understand why. Why am I having to do all? So I understand, the oldest usually helps and you want them to help out, but set clear boundaries on what the limit is and what that looks like, because you start to feel some type of way. And I remember feeling some type of way, like, this ain't my kids. Why am I doing this?
My 6-year-old already yelled at us one time. He's like, this isn't my baby. I didn't have this baby. This is your baby. And I'm like, damn, listen, you know what? You right, Aiden. And
that guy is a whole adult. Like, first of all, I talked about it last time you was on, but Aiden is like a phenom. Like, I love that kid. Like, he's so smart and so wise, and really is not afraid to let you know what the hell's on his mind.
He will tell you what's going on and what he don't like.
Even that in itself, it's like, even me as a mom now, like, I feel some type of way because I remember being younger, and let's just say I'm in the kitchen now. My mother would be in the kitchen and she'll be cooking and she'd be like calling me from upstairs or something. Get me some water.
What? Listen, yes.
You not
in the water in the sink.
No,
like running water.
I have trauma. I want to tell you, I have trauma. If someone calls my son downstairs to ask for, like, no, he's not here to work for you. And I get it. It's something that they've done. It's learned behavior. They're used to it. I just feel some type of way. Like, I never you right there. You in the water. You probably yeah.
Before remote controls, Mama be laying on the couch.
Oh my God!
Come in here and change the channel. Like, it's like, okay.
Or fix the antenna so they can watch the damn TV. Man, listen.
You must well have to stand up there holding the whole show. You holding the antenna like this way. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Don't you know I'm upstairs trying to rap Gangsta's Paradise to myself? Got shit to do.
I'm trying to sneak listen to my Wu-Tang tape.
Look, I'm in there trying to do dance steps so I can watch the videos and do all the moves, and you stopping me to go get you water.
I'm in rehearsals.
Turn off the light, and the hand is this far from the light.
I'm trying to make
So funny.
Oh my God. That's it.
But you know what? That's one of the things that I really thought about that when I had a kid. And early on in the game when Caden was starting able to do stuff, I kind of found myself about to fall into it. But I was like, no, I can't do it to him.
Yep.
Just for the sense. Yeah, I had to stop. I said, I'll just do it myself.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is.
I go tell him, Chase the Chan, can you go downstairs, give me some chips? Chase the Chan, can you go downstairs, give me some water? Chase the Chan, can you go down? I do it.
Randall, we know you do it because your 6-year-old told you about yourself.
He's like, wait 1 minute.
I'm catching myself, so I'm starting not to do it anymore because I realize I'm just being lazy, and it's not
exactly.
Good for me. So
exactly.
Yeah, I'm catching myself on it.
Having a healthy balance is fine because don't get me wrong. He makes his bed. He cleans his room. He makes sure. Let me tell you, he cleans his bathroom. Because you the person who pee all over the place. Look, you better get that job right and you better make it happen. So instilling certain things, absolutely, I understand that. But if I'm all the way down here, I'm not calling him. I just feel like that is ridiculous. That is so ridiculous. And it's based on trauma. It's based on previous experience.
You're going to do it and you're not until he comes.
No, he'll be 8. He'll be 8 next month. I could have been did it. I pride myself because I hate it so much. I hate it so much. And you got to understand, it was 4 of us. It was 4 girls. And the oldest, of course, we did the most. So whether it was go do it for the 2 youngers, go do this for like it was like, dude, no. And then
being the oldest is a different thing.
Yeah, and when they got old enough, who would they go to? They would go to me and my oldest sister. They no longer went to my parents. So that right there shaped the whole thing weird where, your parents, they over there. But we never, we wasn't brought up to really speak your mind and say these things, because if not, you get knocked out because you're being rude and stuff like that. But you did feel some type of way. Like, I remember sitting and hanging out in my room, and my youngest sister, she'll come in, don't even know how to speak properly. You need to give me some eat. Who?
Right.
Your parents is in there. No, I'm asking you.
Listen. And you know what? The crazy thing is, it just clicked to me when you said that. The fact that, Buxom and Moggs, their oldest daughter, Blossom, my grandma, Randall's grandma, was that person. She was like literally surrogate mom to the rest of her siblings after her mom passed, and it's like wow, like
Wait, Julie, even though Sadie thought she was the oldest, Blossom.
listen, yeah.
But my grandmother had that personality. That's what it was. She had the personality where she set the tone. But
no,
because personality is like that. And like I said, people can't say, "Oh my God, where Martine get it from?" I know where I get it from. Like I see where I get it from. But it's her personality that made it seem like she was the head honcho, and they respected that. And to this day, they respect it, because I see it all the time, and I be like, "You so mean."
I did want to touch back on that letter real quick, and wanted to say one thing, because one thing, like we all mentioned, was yes, our fathers did work a lot. And one thing I do know, being former military, being a contractor now, like your job gonna work you down to the bone if you let them. You got a whole new set of responsibilities that you gotta give. I mean, I'm talking hours. I'm talking.
Yeah.
Your whole life is literally changing. I'm sure you know that by now. If you can, by any way, try to switch something up at work. Maybe if you can, take less shifts if possible. Or if you have to switch something up, switch your hours, do something. I would definitely say go for your family first, because your job will not care. Even if you don't say nothing, they ain't gonna know.
They're gonna keep piling on you.
And they not gonna care.
Exactly.
So if you gotta put some things on the back burner now for your kids that you with full time, 100% do that first.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I got a point to add to that, Randall. Like, I was talking about how I was kind of struggling finding my footing with that, like, because I have a day job, and then I also have a side hustle. I design for people, and one of the things that clicked for me was that kind of like balance of time and money and energy and all of that stuff. And it's like, like all of these things make the sum of who I will become in the eyes of my kid, in the eyes of the world even, you know what I'm saying? So for me, I had to go up on my prices, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, listen, I can't be taking things that are not of value to me, because any time that I spend away from my kid is time that I'm spending away from my kids. So that time needs to be worth something to not only my life, but my kids' life. If I'm not building a bigger future, a better house, a better education for my kid with this direct thing that is taking me out of the house, then it ain't worth it. And it's a strong no for me. And granted, it's cut down on the amount of clients that I've taken on, but with 2 clients I've made, probably when I was just a single man out here trying to make it, you know what I'm saying? I've made probably quadruple what I would have made with just these small time clients that I was like taking in, like, oh yeah, I'll do this for you. It's like, damn that, like your family rule. That's it. Your family has to take precedence.
You want the loyal clients anyway, because they're going to keep coming back.
Absolutely.
That holds a lot. And Randall was right. Like, you have to really make that decision for yourself. Like, you have to find that balance. Nobody can tell you what that is. And you know, we go hard for work. We go hard. I used to pride myself on, I don't call out. No. What is that?
Listen, me too. Me too.
After that, I was looking around, and I'm like, what's
Everybody else calling out?
Everybody. And I'm
Regularly.
like, you don't get no
Yeah.
prize. You don't get no. Girl, you got to do for you, and you got to really create that balance for yourself, because they could care less. Okay.
You are very replaceable. They could care less if you ain't never used none of your sick time. They do
That's
not.
it.
Right.
There you go.
And
Don't care at all. Okay.
At the end of the day, your job ain't gonna be the ones to bury you. Your job ain't gonna be the ones to wipe your ass when you can't no more. You know what I'm saying?
There you
Like,
go.
it's the
There you
family.
go.
So it's like you gotta be putting those deposits in to
Absolutely.
you know.
Absolutely.
your
And of
loved
course, we
ones.
need to work. We need to work to provide. And I get all of that. But finding that healthy balance is very, very important. And I never want my son to say, well, yeah, I know my mom, but she was never present. That will kill me. That will hurt so bad. And I've heard that several times speaking individually with adults.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mother was around, but she wasn't present. That
mama,
like
was
holds weight. I say that I hear that often. I hear that a lot, and you start to see the trend of that in certain communities.
And behaviors.
Yeah.
I was just about to say, because you know, if they're meeting with me, there are behaviors, right? So you start to see certain things, and you're just like, yeah, I don't want this for mine. And as a parent, you can do but so much. You know, you can have the lessons, you can do this, you can do that. And we all see that because we all have siblings on here. So we all had the lessons together, but then you got certain siblings that do certain, you like, wait, where were you for that class? Why are you doing it? We all, why are you doing that? But you put your hands up, because after they get a certain age, you can't do anything. That's their life. You know what I'm saying? And I'm pretty sure even certain things I did, they probably said, why am I team do? We wasn't taught that. Same thing. So you can do but so much.
It's true, like that piece about the you know, being in the home and not really being available. Randall kind of touched on it too. Like my situation with my dad was the same. Like, my dad was raised to be the provider and thought that was kind of the end of the line. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm providing for you. I'm there to put you back in place when you out of place. And it was one of those things that my dad, like, and I didn't have a relationship. Like, we would speak when, you know, he was like, well, why does B ain't an A? And to the point of resentment, I had built a great deal of that towards my dad. And it wasn't until I started doing, like, going to therapy and really trying to dig into my past, where I was confronted with, I went to this program. It was a seminar that basically it forces you to confront your own traumas and really take a deep look into the part that you play into them. And so it's like everything, it don't excuse nothing, you know what I'm saying? And so, like, I brought to the situation, I brought to the table, like, I have a strained relationship with my dad, like, you know, he and I, we're not good, like, and it's like, well, what part are you playing in that today? Although that was a historical thing. And I got to the point where I realized that I was playing the part of resentment. I was resenting my dad. I couldn't even let him in if he wanted to, because I was so busy resenting him for the way that I was raised. And so it was like, well, you got to confront that, and you need to talk to him. When I tell y'all, I was like shaking when I called him, like, because it was something that could have honestly gone on unsaid till he was dead and gone, you know what I'm saying? But I called him and I leveled with him, and the thing that shocked me the most, he was like, June, I'm so sorry about that. He's like, I wanted to do better. Like, I just didn't know how. And, you know, and that's one of the things that I regret now, not showing up in that way for you when you were young. And when I tell you, it kind of really opened up a beautiful relationship between he and I. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're way closer than we were when I was growing up. And it's not perfect, obviously, but just that vulnerability that he allowed in that moment. He wasn't like, get off my phone talking to me crazy, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I wasn't talking to him crazy. I went to him respectfully, but it was like, yo, I called him to apologize, actually. I said, I am sorry for the resentment that I've been holding on to you because of my experience being raised by you. And I'm telling you, you don't want to be at a certain age in life and have that conversation with your kid. So being there is important, and the quality time is the most important, because you can spend 20 hours talking about the same thing, but if you spend 5 minutes really talking about something very impactful, somebody will remember that versus the 20 hours that they spent with you. And that's what I got, man. Like, I know that it was a great letter. We got some other things that we want to go into, but I want to, see if there's any input from anybody else before we move on.
Well, now I'm just going to piggyback up what Junie said. And just like we said earlier, there's no instruction manual when it comes to this. You're looking at generations of, conditioning. Because I think our parents, in comparison to what I've gathered from our grandparents' relationships with their children, was much better, I think, as far as them being around and being inclusive. So it's our turn to, pick up the torch and move forward to a more, productive relationship with our kids. One of the biggest things with me when it comes down to raising the son is I don't like being told. I've never been the one I don't like people to tell me what to do. I don't care who it is. I've never been. I always like to figure things out on my own. And I used to get in trouble a lot for that. So now, instead of me trying to push that on my son, I'm like, look, any question he has for me that's not just something that only I can answer, he needs to come up with his own decisions. Because I think it's very important for kids as early as possible to learn how to make their own decisions. So no matter what the situation is, okay, what do you think about this? How do you think you should move forward? Because I know it's worked for me, and we always can go back to that and talk about what I've done and how it's worked for me in the past, but I'm not you. You came from my loins, but we're two totally different people. And again, with the influence of our parents growing up, and the things that I never really feel like I'm resentful about my parents, because just for the simple fact that when you become a parent, you realize oh shit, this shit is not as easy as it looks.
It gets so real so fast, bruh.
So it's easy for us before parenthood to say, okay, well, you could have did this better, but when you're there and somebody hands you this baby, it's like, okay, what were you saying now? So I definitely feel that each generation should just kind of continue to pick up and better ourselves, for ourselves personally and our children.
I agree with that as well. I feel as though, me and my brother and sister, we did not. Man, y'all know my dad. Y'all know Uncle Gary, Cousin Gary, whoever he is to y'all. Y'all know that man is hard as a rock. He's mean if he needs to be. When last time I was down there at Granddaddy's funeral, everyone just confessed, yo, we pretty sure you had it bad growing up. They knew my daddy was the strictest one, the hardest one. He don't play no games. So imagine what he do with us. He definitely play no games.
When the sun go down, you better close them shades.
Man.
See, I don't know that person.
I was gonna say that.
I don't know. I know him.
Person. He is the sweetest.
Oh yeah.
Ever. I don't know. I don't know that person. And the same with you, Junie. I don't know that person.
I know it. Yeah.
Know. He was cool. He was. I don't know that person, so it's amazing to hear this from the kids, because I don't know that person. They were sweet as ever.
But you're always different with your kids, because you can't really push other people's kids to the limit you're gonna push your kids.
Yeah.
Even if it's your family, it's still your kid versus okay, well, I love my cousins and aunts and uncles and everything.
Randall said mean. I would never say mean.
So I'm telling you now. Now I always say it now. I have two fathers. I have the man who raised me, and the man that I've known for the last 5 or 6 years now. Wow. They are night and day, and it couldn't be anything further from it.
Yeah.
And as far as resentment goes, I know, like I said, the night part of my dad growing up, I, when I knew I was going to be a father, or I planned to be a father, I said I will never be what my father was. That was my goal. And it wasn't resentment. It was like, you know what? This is everything that I saw. This is everything that was shown to me. I know what not to do. I know what not, like, I know how I felt growing up. I know how I don't want my kids to feel this way. So I always took it as not resentment that much, but as a stepping stone, as a lesson, like, all right, this, I'm alive, I'm well. I mean, he gave us a roof, food, everything we needed to do. He always told us, you know, I gave you everything you needed and some things you wanted. I took you on vacations when I could, and this, that, and the third. I was like, you're right. I have no issues with it. You know, you talk to my brother and sister, they might have different opinions. But I knew I am exactly like my father now, and I always catch myself being like him, even sometimes with my kids, and I'm like, damn it, I gotta cut this shit out because I know it's not nice. I know it wasn't good. I know they probably gonna feel the same way I felt. So I think the lessons that we learn from them, you could have that resentment and you could not talk about it, or you could take it as, well, this is what I saw and I don't want to be this way. So I'm gonna do what I can to not be this way and bring up my kids in a different manner.
So I have to say, like, I heard both that you both said talking about it, right? So I have to say I commend you for even being able to speak about it, because you have some parents that aren't receptive and they won't even have that talk with you.
No,
you know what I'm saying? So that is big in my opinion in itself, because you have that parent who's willing to sit and listen. Now, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't have this conversation with my dad, because my dad is like, I was always a daddy's girl. Even my mother said it, you love your father, whatever. You know, always said that. And it's true. Growing up, he did nothing wrong. Like, what? Not my dad. Mm-mm. But you got older and you start to see different sides of him. And he was like, oh yeah, I'll be a little upset with that. I get where she's coming from. And you start to see certain things, but I still don't have an issue with my dad. For me, it will more so be with my mom, and kind of having these deep conversations and speaking to her about certain things and certain aspects of our relationship. But like, she would have to be willing to sit and have that conversation. And she is just a Caribbean woman who's like, look, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I did what I did.
But did you die?
Did you die?
You're still alive. You're not bleeding.
Right.
You're not bleeding.
Listen.
You're doing good for yourself. You're doing good for yourself, right? And don't get me wrong. Me and my siblings, we were spoiled. I have to say we were spoiled. But there are still things that we would like to talk to her about. And, you know, just have that. I see people have this kind of bond with their mom, like, oh my God, let me call my mom. Oh, my mom is coming to get the kids today. My mom is coming. And I'm just like, Dad, that must be nice. Even certain things that Tawana say with her mom. And I'm just like, okay. We don't have that kind of.
But let me tell you though, it had to grow to that. I wanted to kind of piggyback off of what you were saying. I'm just like you. My daddy, I am 8. Everybody's like, you, I'm able to like to say you are your daddy's child.
That's me.
That man can't do no round. What? Herbie?
That's right.
Boo,
and
don't play. I don't play by him, boo.
Right.
I don't play by him.
Right.
Because my daddy, like, y'all don't understand, like, my daddy, it makes me cry, like, to really talk about how that man, like, he took care of me and my sisters and my mom. He took care of us. Like, we didn't have to worry about nothing from the trailer to the house. We never knew about lack. We never knew about none of that stuff. None of it. We didn't know. And if it was going on, we didn't know, because we ate every meal, every snack. And my mom, being a stay-at-home mom, like, off and on so much, you know, she made sure her job was to take care of us, and my daddy provided so that she could do that. And he also made sure he listened to her rules when it came to having affection and things like that with us. But I remember my daddy got me out of bed one time, was like,
Wanda, you want to taste this beer? I'm like, yeah, Daddy, I want to taste. Like, we had that kind of relationship. Like, that's my daddy.
Yeah.
So I'm a daddy's girl, and it's a gift and a curse because
who can live up to that?
Every man.
Mm-hmm.
Every man that comes into my life, or a relationship or partner or whatever.
It's true.
It's compared.
Those standards are high.
They're very high. They're very high. But my mama, she got on my last motherfucking nerve. My mama I was the oldest, and my mom was super religious growing up. I was embarrassed because she would answer the phone, praise the Lord. I was embarrassed because, kids are mean, and my mom was overweight. So they used to say stuff about you know what I'm saying? There was a lot of things that I had to deal with inside of me first. And then with my mom, she was super, super duper duper hard on me. Like, I was in piano, Girl Scouts, full H. She had me doing all these things. You know what I'm saying? And now, of course, yes, it has benefited me, but during that time, I didn't understand why she was so strict. And when I went to college, I never used to talk to I was so happy to be free of her and all her freaking religious rules. I was like, I wouldn't even talk to her. She would call. I wouldn't talk to her for months at a time. Like, forget you. You remember how you treated me? But I had to. Yeah. But it wasn't bad. It was just her structure, and I had to have the conversation. Mom, Mama, Mom. My kids call me Mom, but Mama. I resented you, like you guys said, because I felt like you were super hard on me. The rules that you gave to me, you didn't instill in like Tamara and Tara had it made in the shade by the time they got to high school, and
wait, save that for the other show, because I want to hear their perspective because it's different. I think the same way, but they don't think that way. I think the same way. I call me and my oldest sibling the struggle kids. Because not that is wrong, but we the struggle kids because they were still figuring out life.
Figuring it out, right? Exactly.
They were young.
Yeah.
They had maids. They had a person who came and cleaned. We was like, what?
I was the maid.
Exactly.
So bad now, man. I'm the only
please save that because their perception.
Yes.
Their perception is gonna be very different, and it's so amazing. That's why I said we all have this class lesson, but everybody got a different view of it, and I'm just like, what? Because you ask them. I can't wait to that episode because you ask them and it'll be like, we had it hard.
Yeah.
That was not hard.
It was different.
It was different, but it wasn't hard. And I feel like like you guys said, when I get older and I have my children, I'm not going to raise my kids that way. I never wanted to put limiting beliefs in their head about who they were. And my mama, I felt like she did that to me. And I had to discover that once I was ready to heal, once I was ready to talk to her, once I had my own kids. And I'm like, I'm not going to enforce anything on you guys that you don't want to do. If you got your own mind. And my mom didn't raise us based on our personalities or who we were. She raised us based on religion.
What she learned. Yeah. What she learned. You have to understand too. A lot of these things, these are learned behaviors that they just pass down. I feel like we are strong enough to be like, oh no, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. They did not have that concept or that mindset. They were doing what was instilled with them, and you got to just continue the pathology of the family because that's what's supposed to be. That's what's supposed to be done. You're not supposed to wriggle and rattle things. You're supposed to do the same thing. I think often at that kind of mindset and think about, girl, you would have been miserable if you would have sat and followed those rules. You would have been in a heterosexual relationship with a man, like just miserable out your mind. When I think about it, and I'm glad that I was strong enough to be like, no, this is not for me.
This ain't it.
I'm not doing this. And we all said that on this call, right? we've all said that because we're doing things different with our kids now, and that just shows that we've broken the pattern.
Yeah.
A lot of individuals don't have that strength. They don't. Yeah. I must say my parents broke that pattern because they both came from religious backgrounds where it was like, oh, go to church Monday, Tuesday, Saturday. They both was like, no, we going to sleep.
Doing that.
Sunday. That's rest day. So that's how we gonna be in bed, okay? So, you know, and that's their own thing. Am I spiritual? Absolutely. But I can't say I'm religious, and I can't say my parents were religious, but, you know, we did go to church if the head honcho of the family called and said, "Is Easter?" You better go get her dressed and go.
You already know what it is. Get that call.
The whole New York crew will show up for Easter.
Look, slide it in our shoes.
Mary Jane's, the little frilly socks.
All that.
Your tights don't even fit. Your tights don't even fit because you ain't
baggy tights.
Got that huge gap from in between.
You got that gap in the middle. Me and one of the cousins dressed alike, looking like Boxy twins.
Oh my God, yeah. If y'all close in age, y'all gonna get the same outfit from Christmas.
The 3 T's used to be coordinated.
Oh my God! Listen,
the 3 T's.
That ball up bang sitting right here.
Jordan.
That's so fun.
The pink roller. The pink roller.
Okay. That pink roller too stiff, man. That pink roller too stiff. But the conversation has basically evolved into us realizing that communication is important, period.
Yeah.
When it comes to dealing with your parents, your children. And I think the last thing I didn't know if Junie had other topics he wanted to kind of delve into, but I think
we'll have to make this like a part 2 because I mean this conversation is so expansive and it goes through so many levels. And Randall, right now, I would love to put you on the spot and ask if you could come back for another week.
I got a lot to say still. I'm ready to go.
Yeah,
with the siblings, you might want to jump on and be doing the siblings show.
Yeah,
kind of like.
I'm gonna recruit my brother.
Goes right into it.
I'm gonna make sure that.
Listen, tell Charlito to get his ass. Yeah.
Oh, he's gonna have a lot to say about that. I promise.
Yeah, but I feel like the consensus is communication is important, and the things that kind of traumatized us when we were younger, we definitely don't want to bring on to our children. And we have it. It's like I really feel like the consciousness of people has risen, not just because of COVID, but because we're in an information age. We have computers at our fingertips. So anything we need to know or whatever, we can Google in less than 2.5 seconds and have that information. And with that being understood, it's like we're becoming smarter. We're becoming more in tune. We're tapping in when it comes to everything as far as balance. And I just think this conversation is more to unpack. That's what I say.
It's evolution. Evolution basically filters out what wasn't working at the optimum level and adds on new things. So I think each generation has to continue to evolve. So it's like I said, after becoming a parent and under the conditions I became a parent, Caden was like a preemie, and that was an experience to say the least.
Listen.
So even if my parents gave me a rule book of how to parent, it wouldn't have been something I could use in my situation because my situation was so much different.
Exactly.
And that's basically everyone's life, you know.
Absolutely. Everybody's
different. I'm glad we were the ones that figured it out though.
Absolutely.
Enough is enough, because
it's true.
If we kept it going, it'd have been terrible for everything going on further from us.
Right. Especially with the world moving so fast, it's easy to get left behind. So if you're stuck in 2 generations back, you in trouble right now because you can't adapt.
Back and limited thinking, that's a horrible
done.
This is what I was gonna say. I would love to have maybe a series where we bring on our dads, because their thought process, I'm pretty sure, is going to be very different.
Absolutely.
And I always like to hear the differences in what they had to say. That would be really, really you know, my dad is the funny guy. His stuff gonna be funny, and he gonna have a joke about everything. He is truly his dad. He is so
Daryl and my daddy, they two be thick as thieves.
First of all, they look alike. They look alike too. And it's like it's so crazy. They're so similar in so many ways. Like, you know, and let me tell you something. I love that about my dad. Like, he doesn't take a life so serious where he just can't have fun and open up and you know, he's always been his true self. But I would love to hear what he had to say in reference to these things, because when it came to, you're welcome, sir. See, crisis. When it comes to certain things, like, he would fall back a lot. Like, he was the passive parent. He would fall back, and he would just let my mom had a career. You know, she's a nurse, but he would fall back and just allow her to just go ahead. And I think it's because we were girls. I think because that's instilled in them, you know, like, the women handled the girls, and sometimes we would go to him. Yeah. So it really didn't matter. So that would be a good, interesting podcast to have them speaking on.
Shout out to your dad, because your dad was the only reason my dad used to laugh sometimes. We'd go to work on Saturdays. It'd be me, him, my brother, Uncle Daryl. And I'm at work, and I'm seeing my dad laugh for like the first time. I'm like, damn, you don't even laugh at our house.
Yeah, like
that's why I'm saying I never saw that. That's why when you said it, I remember, because when I was in Jersey and I had my house in Jersey, he came and fixed a lock for me, and he was, because, you know, we cut up all the time. And I think the bond between my dad is because they were young parents. So it's more like a sibling kind of thing. Yeah. I'm like, yo, let me tell you what happened. And we just talk to each other like that. And it's funny. And he would laugh and he would crack jokes too. So that's why when you said what you said, I'm like, what? I don't know that person. I don't know who you're talking about.
My dad said that that with y'all's dads, they grew up like brothers because they were so close.
Yes, they were so close.
He said that
they were the only ones up there. I mean, I don't know. Like, my dad was the only one up there from South Carolina. And then he was up with Uncle Daryl all the time. So, and with them working together, they were definitely best friends, brothers.
And you know, my dad been at the job for like, let me tell you. So recently he was like, oh, can you do an update on my resume? I said, how do you update a resume for a person that's been there 40 years? Like, what do you do?
Like one entry.
That's it.
When you change your name, I said, I got to change the name or something. The name,
you need the address.
So it's one.
Yeah.
Martine, I was going to say, and Randall is calling Daryl Uncle Daryl, but that's not his uncle. That's like his
cousin.
But that's how
that's my uncle.
But that's how close.
Yeah.
Because my sisters call his dad uncle. Oh, but that's how close. That's how close they and because I'm older, he has a bond more so with my younger siblings, because I was already out the house and, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's how close they were. Cool. And I remember my dad and your dad, being so close too, because I remember them being outside, hanging out, having fun, and making me dance. Like, look at this dance. And you know, when you young, and they tell you to dance, and you just like, oh, get it.
Getting in there, you know what I'm saying?
Her and Kim is known for knowing the trendy dances.
Yeah, man.
They
was the it girls.
Yes.
The whole wedding down, we're not sitting down. They'd be like, tell them turn to sit down.
Getting it.
That's hilarious. But that just goes to show you that our family, even though we were apart, we still were all together in some type. And that's important when it comes to family and, you know, strengthening our family bond and all that good stuff. I love it. But we're not gonna hold y'all any longer. Does anyone have any final words until part 2?
I think we done said it already. I'm excited for part 2. I'm excited to delve a little deeper into this daddy conversation. I'm excited to see what grows and bridges from that. So yeah,
daddy issues. I think daddy issues is gonna definitely come out in that. And I just to set the precedence, Randall, when you come back, I was on TikTok and this guy was live with his homeboys, and he has 2 kids, but his friend doesn't have any kids. And one of his standards was he doesn't date women with kids. That's his standard. But the guy who went live was like, "You're selfish." Like, he was cursing him out. Like, "Man, I can't be in your presence because you're selfish. You could be missing out on a great, amazing woman because of that dumb rule that you have for yourself." So I think that would be great for us to kind of start there, because I'm sure you have a lot to contribute. And so does Kendrick, I'm sure, being single and all, not think about marriage and dating different types of women and stuff. So I think that'll be a great start.
Well, until then, y'all, it has been another session of Hey Cousin. Remember that you can write to us at heycousin, HEYYYY, cousin@gmail.com. If you have any questions, if you have any shout outs that you want to give, let us know. And we love to see you. Until then, on the count of 3, we're going to do what we always try to do. 1, 2, 3. Hey, cousin! Is it a lag? Is it the internet? Like, what the hell?